If you're not nervous, you shouldn't be doing the interview. Nardwuar. John Ruskin, better known as Nardwuar, is a legendary interviewer in the music industry. He's interviewed people like Billie Eilish, Pharrell Williams, Drake, Jay-Z, and so many other icons in the music industry about their life, their journey. And I'm always so mind blown, like the guest is, at the level of thoughtfulness and research that Nardwuar puts into the work that he does. And he's been doing this for over 30 years, and that's why to many, he is considered to be the GOAT of music industry interviews, which is exactly why in this week's episode of MasterTalk, we're covering the legendary Nardwuar. Hey everyone, Brendan here for MasterTalk on your go-to channel to mastering your talk. And today we're talking about music icon legend Nardwuar and how he interviews his guests. So let the music start. Number one, bring many thoughtful gifts to the person you're interviewing or the person that you admire. It's normal when you're interviewing a guest to bring some sort of gift. Hey, thanks for coming on the show. Here's a gift. But Nardwuar is in a category of his own. He brings 10 gifts for one guest. For example, when he's interviewing Snoop Dogg, every 2 minutes, he takes out something brand new and goes, Snoop Dogg, I got a new gift for you. I got something for you. And Snoop Dogg gets confused. Like, how many gifts does this guy bring? But he gets so excited. And that's really the magic that Nardwuar is playing on, which is over-delivering the guest experience to create a meaningful memory in their mind. Because Nardwuar is awfully generous and really thoughtful, these aren't just like random gifts. They play a part in that person's life and that person's journey. They're sharing different sides of their personality that usually doesn't come up in any other interview because the gifts never get brought up during the process. Whereas Nardwuar has a magical way of bringing this all together. One example of this in an interview with Snoop Dogg, where Nardwuar gifted him a Red Foxx doll, and Snoop Doggy Dogg, as he calls him, said, hey, I'll buy this doll off of you for $8. Nardwuar says, no, it's not for sale. It's just a gift. Then he goes, I'll give you $10. And then 3 minutes later, he's like, Nardwuar, I'm going to give you $40 for this doll. And that funny banter between both Snoop Dogg and Nardwuar became a viral moment in the internet where we really got to witness his brand for the first time. What's the lesson? I'm not asking you to bring 10 gifts for one person. I can barely get one across the room, honestly. But if you can bring more generosity, not just in your words, but also in different gifts, you're going to create a unique impression like Nardwuar has done with every single person he's met and interviewed in the music industry. Number two, ask very detailed questions that show the guest you did your homework. Nardwuar is notorious for asking very specific, detailed questions about a guest's life. Questions that the guest might not even know the answer to. And what's most impressive is he started interviewing people before the internet even existed mainstream. So how is he even getting all of this information? And this was apparent in an interview he did with Pharrell Williams, where he sat the guy down and said, hey, here's a gift for you. I have a Carl Sagan record on wax. How did Carl's work influence you in your work with NERD, which is a band that's very indie, it's very low key, that Pharrell started before he became a mainstream artist. And Pharrell literally stops the interview, looks at Nardwuar and goes, this is the best interview of my life. How do you even know this? The shock on his face is so priceless and goes to show you how thoughtful research and question asking can go such a long way to make the guest really feel at home. And bonus point, that's how Nardwuar gets all of these A-list celebrities in the music industry to say yes, because people know his reputation and they want him to be interviewed by them. And that's really the secret. So what does this mean for you? Because we can't do the level of research or craziness that Nardwuar is doing. So I can't recommend something that I'm not implementing. So instead, I'm going to give you an easier version to implement Nardwuar's tips, which is this. If you're somebody who wants to interview a hero or you want to meet somebody special in your life, take a step back, close your eyes, and just imagine who those 3 people are. And then write them on a notepad. And then write down a list of questions. I have a notepad on my phone called Advice for Celebrities and Questions for Celebrities. So whenever I'm watching a podcast, I go, oh, that interviewer is not asking Alex or John or Julia that follow-up question, so I'm gonna write that down for that person whenever I meet them in 15 years. So the key is to think about the questions years in advance so that when it's time for you to do the interview, you're already prepared. And finally, number 3, stay composed and keep cool when booking and interviewing guests. What impresses me the most about Nardwuar's 30-year-plus career is that so many times, because of his eccentric personality, he's been bullied a lot, he's been faced with harsh criticism, artists shoving him into rooms, pushing him around, literally assaulting the guy, but he still keeps that positive, vibrant attitude about him when he's sharing ideas and interviewing people. So that eventually, a few minutes later, the music person realizes that, wow, Nardwuar actually does his homework and he's really taking this seriously. That's how he's built his brand. And I tell you this because Nardwuar is the best example of somebody who doesn't give up. He will find any single reason to get the interview. He actually did Kurt Cobain's last ever interview before he passed away. And the story behind that is wild. He interviews Kurt's wife first. Then Kurt's wife says, hey, come to this private party to interview Kurt. He goes to the private party. Security blocks him off. Then he sees Kurt's wife. He waves his hand. Kurt's wife calls him backstage, and then he gets the interview. But imagine the level of persistence he had to do to get in that room with Kurt Cobain. It was wild, but it goes to show you why Nardwuar is the GOAT, because he's willing to go further than any other interviewer in the world, period. And that's why he's the best. So the lesson is, how seriously are you really taking your craft? Every time you don't want to film a video, every time you don't want to give that presentation, oh, I don't want to practice for 5 more minutes. I always think about Nardwuar and the work ethic this guy brings, and it reminds me to just get back off my seat and push further for the goal. And I hope it inspires you too. If you're not nervous, you shouldn't do the interview. I appreciate and love Nardwuar for 2 specific reasons. The first one is he's always willing to go the extra mile to get the job done. He is the best example of somebody who started before he was ready. Every interview he did wasn't perfect. He made mistakes. He had a goofy personality. The industry wasn't ready for him, but they still eventually embraced him. And the second lesson is, at the end of the day, consistency breeds reputation. Today, the biggest artists in the world dream about being interviewed by Nardwuar because he has such a reputation in the industry. And there's 2 great examples of that, Jack Harlow and Logic. And if you don't believe me, go and watch those interviews where they literally say at the end of those interviews that, wow, my dream was to be interviewed by Nardwuar, and this is my moment. It's such an honor for me to be on this show. And that's what consistency brings you. And I encourage you to bring that work ethic, that same level of excellence that the legend Nardwuar brings into his craft. As always, if you enjoyed this week's episode of MasterTalk, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well to see more videos like this. And I would love to invite you to my 90-minute free workshop over Zoom that we do every 2 weeks. And it's absolutely amazing. So many people attend it from across the world, and I hope you're one of them. Comments below, just go check out the link there and you can register. And of course, if you know someone who loves Nardwuar, feel free to share this video with them so that they'll be one step closer to doot-doot-a-loot-doo, doot-doo.